Good evening, my friends. Tonight on The Real Dirt, we'll be talking about cocoa. Cocoa pith, cocoa fiber, Coco Coir. People call it by many different names, but no matter how you call it or what you think about it, man, it really is a great sustainable product, a growing medium. Many people don't really know what it is. They confuse it with cocoa, which is the shell of another bean. That's a waste product that's used as a mulch. But this is a shell of a coconut. When it's cracked open, you see all those long fibers on it. Throughout Asia, they take those long fibers and they weave them into textiles. Well, when they're doing this in this mechanical process, these short fibers, the pith, coir, it falls to the ground and it's a waste product. And the beauty of cocoa fiber, Coco Coir, cocoa, is that it's this great renewable resource. It falls to the ground every day. Coconuts fall to the ground every day. And pith is made every day as a waste product from the cocoa fiber industry. Now, we take this product, we import it from Asia, India, Sri Lanka. We use a single source select product at our facility. People get it from all over the world. It comes in bricked into this country, bricked up, just like old school cannabis. People love to grow cannabis with it. It has an excellent oxygen to moisture ratio. It's naturally high in potassium. And man, it's really an awesome, awesome medium to grow cannabis. Now, some people hate it. Some people can't stand it. There's lots of myths behind cocoa, and I hope we're going to solve some of those today. If you're interested in cocoa, then man, this is a great episode for you. If you hate cocoa, then man, this is going to be a great episode for you. If you don't know anything about it, then this is going to be a great episode. On today's episode, I'm going to have my good friend and the Chief Operating Officer of Grower Soil talk to me about cocoa fiber and cocoa production. So if you're interested in this episode and others, please download them at therealdirt.com. You can also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, The Real Dirt Podcast. So sit back, fire one up, and listen to us chat about cocoa. My friends, welcome to The Real Dirt. On today's Dirt, I have my good buddy, Darren Erasmus. Say hey, Darren.
Hey, Chip. Good to be here.
Oh, man, you sound great over there, dude. I'm going to have to adjust my mic. You sound a little bit better than me. Darren's the Chief Operating Officer of my potting soil company, Growers Soil. If you haven't heard about Growers Soil, then this is a great episode for you. I've been making potting soil for 15, 20 years, and this is my latest manufacturing plant, kind of a whole new concept of potting soil from me. And Darren has helped me build a lot of this. We've been working together on it for how long, Darren?
I'd say the last 2 years.
Last 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we built the building from the ground up, the facility from the ground up. Darren, he came from kind of the other side, the wholesale sales side. Well, what would you call it?
Yeah, you're right on. Commercial sales.
Commercial sales in the hydroponic industry. We used to work together years ago at Cultivate Colorado and had an opportunity to come over to the cocoa side.
Yeah, full circle.
So, Darren, what's like the number one myth you hear people like when you say cocoa? Do you hear people say like this something over and over again, a myth?
No, really. Cocoa is just such a fantastic medium. There's nothing negative to say about cocoa. There's no myth to be had.
Okay.
What have you heard, Chip?
Well, I mean, you're kind of right, though, because when people say you can't really overwater cocoa, and you can, but like it actually is really hard to.
I've heard it's difficult for beginners, but I beg to differ. I think it's a great medium for people learning to grow.
It only works in small pots, right?
No.
Yeah, you see people grow them in big pots, too.
Yeah, you sure do, and they do really well. I think it's how you control the feed of the cocoa. Like anything, you got to know how to feed your plant at what stage of life, and with cocoa, it's the same thing.
we do see people in bigger pots, I guess. What's like what can you say you've seen someone in a 20-gallon cocoa, just straight cocoa pot? Or
no, I'd say 10's probably the biggest.
Probably about the biggest, right? It's really a really variable subject. I mean, a variable media. We were in Oklahoma a couple weeks ago. I mentioned that the product was in cocoa, and this guy like snarled his lip up at me, and he said, "I don't do hydroponics," right? And yeah, I get that, but it's not just a hydro medium either.
No, it's not. But it gives you the best of both worlds. It allows you to feed it how you want throughout the different stages of the plant's life. Gives you that precise control that you need. You can drip it, you can hand feed it, you can flood and drain it. So yeah, there's a lot of different techniques with the cocoa.
I love the flood and drain. I love ebb and flow. It's such easy plumbing, with ebb and flow and cocoa ebb and flow. I really love that one. I know like drip and whatnot is also popular, but man, to just take 4 and 5 inch pots, fill them with cocoa, plant a plant, and grow it till it's like just a foot tall or 8 inches tall. Flood it in a flood tray. Is so easy to maintain that, man.
And cocoa is one of the best mediums for flood and drain. It wicks so well.
Yeah. Absolutely. That one technique I'd put out there to people who want to do flood and drain cocoa is you do want to get your container fairly rooted. Yeah, your best case scenario is to get this container completely rooted, and then be able to water it multiple times a day. If it's not completely rooted, then you just water it less times, right? And the smaller containers, I actually prefer them. But man, up to 2-gallon pot, like that's a really good hydro flood and drain size. What do you think the most common flood and drain pot is for cocoa?
You said it, that 1 to 2 gallon.
Man, I've seen some just huge plants in 2 gallons. Did you see our hemp episodes? Did you see any of that stuff? No. Oh, you don't subscribe to The Real Dirt, Darren?
Of course I do,
Chip. Dude, even my friends and coworkers don't subscribe.
I'm a little backed up.
Hey! If you haven't subscribed, please do. Take the time. If you're on my website, go to iTunes. Please subscribe to The Real Dirt Podcast. So, Darren, if you had subscribed to The Real Dirt Podcast and seen some of the hemp episodes,
I would have known.
You would have known. Man, we had this hemp plant here that one of our customers gave us for the show. And 3-gallon pot, huge plant. I think we got a 1/4 pound or something off that, 1/2 pound. And I know that's a big difference, but still at a 1/4 pound is a lot. But I think it was like a 1/2 pound of hemp. But people don't just use cocoa straight, right? They mix perlite in it.
They do, yeah. And there are those few people who do like to run straight cocoa. But you're right. I'd say 70-30 is the most popular cocoa blend. And what I've seen lately trending now is more of like a 50-50 even.
Oh, yeah, 50-50. That cut of perlite really allows it to dry out, so you can automate your watering quickly. Yeah, I just saw 50-50 today, man. I'm not saying I was surprised to see it, but yeah, you got to want to water it.
It's never enough drainage for people.
No doubt.
They'll buy a 70-30 and add perlite.
Yeah,
they'll buy a Pro Mix and add perlite.
Yeah, absolutely. People love to mix up their own magic. That's for sure. What are the ways people use this 70-30 mix when they use it?
Drain to waste is the most popular. Especially when you're going to scale. So a drip system,
5-gallon pot.
Yeah,
drip system,
5-gallon pot. The fabric pots are also taken off. It's the trend now. Allows your plants to dry out a little quicker even. And
absolutely. And the fabric pots are great for the flood and drain too, man, because you get that primary filter with the pot. Because, that is the problem with cocoa flood and drain is the sediment that comes out of the container. But the fabric pot really is a primary filter and keeps a lot of that inside.
Definitely.
Right. Yeah, if you're going to flood and drain, use a fabric pot. Right. But for drip, it allows it to dry out because the fabric pot has more air and it dries out more. Doesn't hold the moisture, the heat, any of that as much. Run to waste drip is definitely the most popular, and I think the best way to describe it is you have a nutrient tank, you drip your media, or you hand water your media, it drains out and runs to waste. You don't recycle the media. Flood and drain, you don't recycle the nutrient, the runoff, right? Mm-hmm. Flood and drain usually recycle it.
And that helps with pH swings, keeps your pH swings in check. You're not recycling that runoff, causing different fluctuations.
Yeah. And
feeding with a cleaner feed every time.
It allows them to give a bunch of over runoff. People can really like jack their plants that way too, because, if they're just basically like flushing 1,800, 2,000 parts per million through there, with a tons of runoff, then the plants actually really respond to it.
Is there a precise percentage of runoff, say 10% runoff, 15% runoff?
People do it all different ways, man. When you say 10%, it's actually a lot, right? You got a 500-gallon reservoir and you just, put 50 gallons on the floor. Right. That's actually a lot.
That is a lot. Yeah.
Right. When you look at it that way, but like 10 and 25% is commonly what like our industry has said. I think there's a better way to do it. I think it's better to not jack your plants so much and have less runoff.
I'm all about less waste.
More efficient, less waste. Yeah, absolutely, man. It is the predominant culture in the cannabis industry. To dump your reservoirs and flood and drain after 10 days or 2 weeks. It's common practice, to have this like 10 and 20% runoff. Honestly, I don't think people really know how much runoff they have. Few people really test it. You don't test it.
No.
People don't test it, man. Mm-hmm. Some people do.
Yeah, and I think another trend that I'm seeing is people actually going no runoff, trying to feed to that point of no runoff, but actually dialing back some of the parts per million of the feed that they're feeding.
Yeah, because the EC or the parts per million will raise in your soil that way. And I think that's exactly how to do it. Like,
so you feed with less nutrients, you have less waste.
Yeah.
No runoff.
Feed with like 800 ppm, hardly any runoff. And if you just feed with that over and over again, the media, your container, it starts to gain in EC, right? So you can just, 800 over and over and over again, and your container is going to raise, right? So it's a really effective way to do it, right? Every time you're flushing it out, you're just losing so much money, man.
Definitely. And then you mix in your compost teas and all that in there as well to help flush that out, get you better flavors and taste. And
right. The common EC we see in fully finished, the common parts per million we see in fully finished plants is around 4,000 in the media.
Wow.
Yeah, when we've tested it before, it just raises, right? And then the plants love it, right? But you wouldn't think about putting 4,000 parts per million, as a fertilizer into your soil. It's just the soil buffers it.
Do not try that at home.
Right.
Don't do that.
So, man, I see tons of people hand watering, man. Why is this such a real, still predominant way of
It is.
of
even
growing?
at a scalable operation, you see it sometimes. People like to tend to each plant differently. And sometimes one plant is feeding more. Sometimes one plant's feeding less. If you're on a drip feeding the same, you can't control that. So if you're hand feeding, and I do like hand feeding, I'm an advocate for it early on if you can. Obviously, when your plants when they're established, you want to kind of automate it. But it gives you a little more control. And then it actually gets you in there with your plants, where when you're fully automated, you tend to step away sometimes.
I hear all those things you're saying, and like 100% like to, throw in, a good, album. I don't know if anybody listens to whole albums but me anymore, but, I like to listen to one all the way through and, feel like it was like the artist or the marketer. That's how they wanted me to hear that album, and there's a certain meditative quality to put on an album, listen to the whole thing and hand water your plants. I get that. Right. I totally get that. Zoning out, listening to some Bill Withers or some Marvin Gaye or some Player Circle or whatever, Tupac. I get it. I get it.
What don't you get about it?
Fuck, man. I mean, if it's recreation, that's one thing. Man, it just costs so much to do it in an economy of today.
Yeah, you can't do it at scale.
And people are doing it at 100 and 200 lights right now. And I mean, 500 lights even. I see it. I've seen it for years.
Do you think those people have never set up a drip system? Maybe they don't know what they're missing.
Man, they don't know what they're missing, or they set one up and they didn't set it up right. Right. So they didn't put the filter in right, or they didn't clean their tank after they put it all together. And all right. So here's what happens. People come in to put a drip system. They're like, I'm going to put a drip system in. Right. They don't do the math on the drippers. That's the number one thing. We try to help people, but sometimes we don't get all the information, or people's plans change, or they don't want to listen, or, they don't say anything to us. And it's like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Right. So the first thing they fuck up is on the math. Right. And it's simple math on drip, right? It's like this dripper equals so many gallons per minute, so many gallons per hour, right? Each dripper has that rating, right? So each supply line also has a rating of pressure and volume. So it's real simple math. If you've got a gallon dripper and 180 gallon maximum capacity feed line, which is a half-inch line, you can put 180 1-gallon drippers on the line and still maintain your pressure. Simple, right? Simple. Mm-hmm. People, they don't do the math or think about it. That's the number one thing they do. The number two thing they do is they don't put in filters right. They either undersize the filter, and we always tell our customers, like, oh, you got a 1-inch line, then you need to get the 1.5-inch filter, right? Because the volume that goes to the 1.5-inch filter is actually equal to the volume in a 1-inch line. The people that take our advice, they're like, works out great. Other people don't. The other thing they do is, and this is really, really common, is they have an old nutrient tank with a bunch of sludge and shit in it. And the first thing they do is don't clean that tank out, and they drip their whole line, and all their drippers get clogged. Mm-hmm. Right. Like we've seen that happen over and over again. Right. So, not designing their system properly. Mostly it's filtration, not starting out with all clean equipment. Right. That's what does it. But it's simple, man. I mean, it's simple technology.
There should be a drip system in every garden.
Yeah, I mean, for veg, like flood and drain, I think is the best way. Just because you might have a bunch of small plants in an area, or hand water even, because it's not so hard to hand water like 1,000 or 10,000 4-inch pots. It's not that big an area. Right. But you transplant, those up into 5 and 7 gallon pots, and, 5,000 7-gallon pots. It's a bigger area. That's a whole day's worth of watering for you now.
Yeah. And I'd say at that rate, you're probably, depending on the size of your plant, you're going to feed once every other day when they're small.
Yeah. Totally.
Every 3 days.
Yeah, totally.
And then down to once a day. When it gets to that point where you have to feed more than once a day, that's when you need to either pot up or you need to set up a drip.
Right. Oh man, automated watering, just to do it on time, is because we all do it on time anyway. So like we tell people this all the time too, is we ask people that are against drip or people that are into it, hey, you're hand watering now. How long does it take you to hand water? And people will say 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. I got 6 guys that water all day long, whatever they say. Right. Whatever that figure it is, however it takes them to water, that's usually how long it takes to build the drip system. Right. So if someone comes and says, it takes me an hour to water, well, you can build the drip system more than likely in 1 hour's time. Right. Mm-hmm. And then every other hour that you'd spend in your grow, every other hour, say you got a 40 light room, say it takes you 1 hour to hand water. Right. And you water it 4 times a week. Right. That is 4 hours a week, and it grows for 10 weeks straight. You just put 40 hours into it. Now, one crop of 1 year, you spent the 1 hour to put the drip system in. And then every month now, every crop now, you save 40 hours of your life or 40 hours of your pocketbook. It's so simple.
Definitely. Or take those hours and spend them on your plants, trimming them
Well,
up.
that's exactly the thing to do.
You
It's
know?
like now you get to grow your plants instead of water your plants, right? And you look at them, you can maybe spin them now. And because, man, I've seen huge gardens where people's MO was to every day they would go through a section of the garden, right, for, man, like an hour or something and spin the plants every single day. So, like, and this is a big garden. This is like 120 lights on the flip or something, not a small garden. And it was all drip. Man, they had the most uniform weed, right? They, like, spent the time. And I'm not suggesting you should do that, but, like, that was their method. That was their MO. And they got great yields, man. Back then, they got great yields.
I think you're turning people on to a new technique.
Oh, yeah, you rotate your plants, man?
Spin them.
Spin them.
I don't spin.
You don't spin?
I'm not a spinner.
Oh, you should totally spin, man. You know, especially on like your small legal 6-plant gardens or like big gardens. If like you just get them on a rotation and like every day you spin one plant, you know, a certain direction, or you spin all the plants a certain direction. And then like no matter what it is, they like you get even growth all the way around it. Right? Spin it, man. Spin it, bro.
I like it. Sometimes the trellis gets in the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the problem for sure. But, man, I know trellis works great. But, man, that plastic shit is just so awful for the world and the environment. And I don't know how many, like, dead animals or almost dead dogs or, you know, I've seen or pulled out of it. Like, it is just nasty, nasty product. So dispose of trellis appropriately if you use it. Who are these people buying cocoa right now? Who's using cocoa?
Well, I'd probably say some of the best growers out there right now.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I like that. No, the most, professional growers. But it's not just like, it's beginners to...
It's beginners all the way up.
It's beginners to pros.
Like you said, when people scale and they go to drip systems, people love cocoa because of its wicking ability, because of its air-to-water ratio. So you see a lot of these big commercial guys rocking cocoa or cocoa perlite or... you know, now as of late, more of the cocoa peat perlite.
Right. Yeah. Our product, the new path we've taken with growers is we've blended cocoa, peat, and perlite together. And this blending of the peat and the perlite and the cocoa, in my opinion, it really is a better mix. It holds slightly more moisture. You actually get to it's still a high porosity mix, but you water a little bit less. You know, man, I think most people might save close to 20% on their fertilizer usage because it's just slightly more, holds slightly more water than the 70-30 mix.
It does, and that's, you know, thanks to the peat.
Yeah, but it acts the same as far as the production of the plants.
Definitely.
Right, but you use 20% less fertilizer. Right, yeah, that's the beauty of it all. So, Darren, you hadn't made soil before you came to work at the cocoa plant.
No, I've always been a cocoa guy, but I have not. No, I haven't had the pleasure of working with the equipment and seeing how high tech everything is. I mean, it's a state of the art blending line.
It's not just shovel.
No, you're not out there, you know, kicking dirt around with a water hose.
Turn it some more over there. Turn it some more over there. No, you're absolutely right. People ask me that all the time. They think we use equipment to mix heavy equipment like front end loaders to mix it up. But this is all, you know, hoppers and conveyor belts and computer programs and volumetric sensors, and it is high tech. It's pretty cool to see it happen.
It's fun, and we do have the big front end loaders and bobcats, and those are fun.
And those are fun enough too, right?
Those are
I'm a forklift man myself. Had you worked with peat much? Because you had always been a cocoa guy.
No, you know, I didn't. I've really learned a lot about peat in the last few years, and it's got a great place blended in with cocoa. It really does. I think it helps to balance the cocoa. Holds just slightly a little more water.
You were a cocoa purist when you came to work for us.
Always been a cocoa guy.
Yeah, totally. And I was a cocoa purist for years too. I mean, my other companies were, you know, all cocoa fiber centric, you know, potting soil lines, and this is I even probably badmouth peat.
Yeah,
you know, back in the day.
You know, for indoor gardening, it's one of the best mediums. You know, the straight peat, in my opinion, tends to hold too much water in an indoor environment.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing the peat does in our mix is it cuts the cocoa a little bit, so you don't have that calcium problem that many people have with the cocoa fiber, right? And we still promote people to use a calcium nitrate or a calcium magnesium CalMag source. It's just not near as a problem, right? Mm-hmm. What type of ways are you seeing people use the Growers High Porosity product?
Just like we spoke about, it works great in flood and drain scenarios. It works great in the drip system. We're seeing it more now with the hemp growers. Seed starting is great. It's super light, really fluffy, very consistent from bag to bag. Mm-hmm. And that's due to our all indoor facility. But it's light. It's light product, man. Super fluffy.
Right. Any 2 cubic foot bag. It's people can easily carry 4. But definitely you can carry 2 if you're a normal human. It really have made the shipping of it done really well in that. I know that's a whole behind the scenes thing. Mm-hmm. Instead of the end user, they don't really see that. But for us, the shipping is like the hardest thing to do.
It is. Moving soil around the country is expensive, and that adds dollars to every bag of soil bought out of state.
Right. Or even in state, man.
Definitely, yeah. And fortunately for us, we could fit, up to 26 pallets on a truck. That really helps bring the cost per bag down.
Right. Totally. Yeah, when we designed those initial bags, one of the things I wanted to correct were problems I had with some of my other soil products where they fit on standard pallets, and a standard pallet measures out at 40 by 48 inches. And the logic is that you can hang the bags over 4 inches on each side. So it's a 48 by 48 inch footprint on the truck floor. Right. But what we did when we redesigned these new bags is we got everything on the pallet. So it measures more like a 48 by 40 footprint. And you're able to just, add up all those inches in a truckload and get those extra pallets on the truckload. And also because we mix it with peat and we're not in any water, it's so much lighter that you can get that extra weight. Right. What's a pallet weigh? It's like 1,800 pounds or something.
Yeah, 17.
Yeah. Most everything else is like 2,400 pounds. So I know we're like geeking out a little bit here on the shipping, but like, it really is. One, it's like this environmentally conservative thing to do, because you're getting more bang for your buck for the petroleum spent as we ship it around the world. The other thing is it makes it more cost effective for you, the store owner, or the commercial grower, to buy it. We've had some big hemp people get into the growers HP.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think when you're spending so much money on feminized seed, where you're just such a high upfront cost to buy hemp seed, mm-hmm. you want to make sure you're putting it in a good soil, that it's going to sprout, that it's going to start out well.
Right, that you can feed it whatever you want.
Exactly, you can control it, and a great high porosity blend is the answer. So, yeah, we're seeing probably our biggest market share coming in now is a lot of these hemp guys.
Yeah, totally. We got those one Kentucky photos the other day. We sent over some truckloads to Kentucky, and I don't know how big the greenhouse was, man. Maybe like 20,000 square feet or something. Man, it just looked perfect.
Beautiful
garden.
Beautiful.
It really shows the consistency of it. It was good to see that. That's for sure. Yeah, I was really surprised with the hemp farmers because, they're not getting so much per pound. The starts and the greenhouses, like that's where it's at, right? That's what people are, using our product on, using the growers' product on, and higher end. Man, we've also been selling a shit ton to Oklahoma.
Yeah, man, Oklahoma took off. I wasn't quite ready for the enthusiasm of the Oklahoma grower. That's for sure. It was great to see.
Yeah, it has been great to see, man. I mean, we just started distributing it down there just recently. This is, what month is it? This is May, right? And we just started distributing it last month or something.
Yeah, we've been there a month or something. Yeah, been there a month.
Oh my God, dude. Like, the reception has been really incredible, man.
It's been unreal, But I think when you get a quality soil into somebody's hands and you really let them get their hands into it and play with it, they get excited.
Yeah, you feel it and you get excited. That's for sure. It feels great, in your hands.
Yeah, when you're used to something that just holds so much water, that's so heavy, it doesn't give you the control you're used to, and then you get a nice high porosity product. Man.
And no doubt.
It's taken off in Oklahoma for sure.
So, man, you actually Darren runs it all at the dirt plant. He runs the day-to-day operations. He runs the sales. He runs the deliveries. Like we have several other employees, but like Darren runs it all. He talks to almost everybody that we sell it to, right? Yeah, I guess you talk to everybody we sell it to.
Yeah, I talk to everybody, yeah.
What kind of people are, many people are having stereotypes about Oklahoma, and, Cultivate Colorado, we're moving a grow store down there. Cultivate Garden Supply, it's in Oklahoma City. It'll be open in June 2019. And we're moving a bunch of stuff down there, man. I mean, I think Oklahoma's a great market, but there's lots of stereotypes about people in Oklahoma, right? Have you come across a major question people have about our soil or a major question?
Not really. I'd say what most people want to know, they're not so familiar with the inert soils.
Right, soilless mix.
The soilless mix, yeah. Mm-hmm. They're used to getting something that's got the castings and kelp meal and bone meal and, you name it, all the amendments in their soil. So, when you introduce to them a high porosity soilless mix, they're like, what is this?
Yeah.
How do I feed my plants? Which ultimately is what they want to know.
It is. That is the biggest thing people have asked. What's in it? And when we say nothing, it's really easy. The light bulb goes off. It's like, oh, okay.
So you just start feeding right away. Where some people I think are used to transplanting up into a warm mix, a hot mix,
right?
And going straight water for a couple weeks,
right?
And then starting to introduce their nutrients.
Yeah, and the plants would survive in the grower's HP if you didn't do anything but give it water, but they wouldn't really thrive.
Yeah, they would do okay.
They would do okay.
And you start to see probably a little bit of yellowing out.
Yes, within probably 2 weeks, probably.
Yeah. So you transplant them up and you feed your favorite nutrient, organic or synthetic.
Yeah,
because we are in an organic soil. Organic cocoa, organic peat, organic perlite. It's very simple.
Yeah, it's very simple. And, it's not 100% organic. It literally is 99.9% organic because we do put calcium nitrate in the product. You really have to use calcium nitrate for cocoa to make a quality cocoa product. And I battled it for years, and we're still going to do some organic cocoa stuff at growers. It's not going to have calcium nitrate in it because people demand it. The calcium nitrate really does help the cocoa so much. And then we put lime in it to help balance the pH, right?
Yep. So the basic pH of peat is low. It's really low. It's 3 to 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
And cocoa is pretty neutral. You're looking at about 7 for that. So when you blend these together, the pH tends to be on the low side. So you add a little bit of lime to it. It brings up and balances the pH, and it gives you a great starting pH.
Absolutely. Really easy to balance out. And, because it's cocoa and peat, people ask me what to run the pH at. And I still tell people to run it like it's a cocoa fiber or hydroponic medium, which would be 5.8. But man, I right now today, we have some super successful gardeners that run it at 6.5.
And that's what I like about our soil is it gives you that range. You don't have to feed it at one specific pH. If you're in range, if you're in 5.7 to
right,
6.4,
it all depends on how you're feeding it.
You're good.
Absolutely. So the other thing I've seen in Oklahoma is people ask two questions. One, they they ask what to feed it with, and we say your favorite nutrients or whatever. And then the other thing is they're really in lots of interest in organics. Right. So people want that organic mix, the thing to mix in with the soil. Right. And so you could see people's eyes light up because so many people had organic products that they want to put in the soil or they're already growing with and put in the soil. It's really cool to see, man. It's like old school Humboldt really at how people talked about organics.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, organics, they just gives you a better product, right? So, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
the end product tastes and can taste and smoke better for sure.
definitely,
Properly grown
and
organic.
whether it's straight organic or even an organic synthetic blend,
Yeah.
even, but
I mean, we both know I prefer like to mix in some organic nutrients and then add a handful of synthetic nutrients in it. And I believe that's the best way. Right at the beginning, good synthetic nutrient, a good ETA, plant that into some organic soil, and then, feed it with a bloom enhancer of some sort at some point, and then all water, all organic after that. Like, I think that's the best way, right? You get the best of both worlds. It's not strictly organic, but you get that like look with the synthetic nutrients that you don't quite get so easily with the organic.
And it's still, this is a hobby, it's a hobby industry. And
Yeah,
granted,
absolutely.
we've got a huge commercial side to things as well, but I mean, you want to play with different products. You want to experiment with what's new. You want to, mix in different organic amendments and different teas, and you want to try things.
The one guy who just bought 52 pallets, that's not so much of a hobby for him, though. I mean, he's a commercial grower, and he mixed in. Do you remember what he mixed in? Yeah, I can't remember. He had 2 or 3 organic ingredients he mixed into it. Big commercial grower, right? That's a commercial grower right there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm not saying that if you're at the commercial level that you can't mix in organics.
No, absolutely. I mean, when you look at it, it really is one of the cheaper ways to do it, right? Especially if you're growing for extraction and you got your organic formula down. It doesn't look the same. It is one of the cheapest methods, man. You put the nutrients in the soil, and then you just add water, right? Or like you said earlier, compost teas or something.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, I love organic stuff, man. If you're ever out there, Oklahoma or Utah or California or wherever the hell, and you see me and you got some great organic weed, you should like introduce yourself. Yeah, but I love hydro though. I love hydro, right? I love automated. I love straight cocoa. I love drip. Like, our high porosity drip is just incredible. Like, I really do love hydro.
Hydro is great, and when you have a good base medium to run in your hydro, it's the best, and having that cocoa, it's a little more forgiving than, say, your standard rocks. Your hydrogen, your DWC, your rock wool. I mean, you name it. It's not as forgiving as a true soilless medium.
Cocoa is absolutely the way. Whether you're using, straight cocoa or 70-30 or our growers high porosity, it really is the preferred medium in cannabis. But hey, it used to not be that way though, right?
No, it really didn't.
Right.
I mean, back in the day, you almost had to get what you could find. And there,
When did you come over to Colorado to work at Cultivate?
2009.
2009. So yeah, it wasn't big in 2009.
No, we were just starting to educate people on different cocoa fiber mediums and the benefits of them then, and it's great, crazy to see how things have changed in the last almost 10 years.
Yeah,
with how people grow.
Yeah, no, man, it's awesome to see like more sustainable products. And cocoa, we already went over it. Coconuts fall to the ground every day. Perlite, it's mined volcanic like ash that they take and run it through a machine like a popcorn maker, and it pops it. Then peat, it's harvested from naturally developed bogs in northern climates. So it's all these like natural products, right? I know peat and perlite are mined products.
Yeah, they say it's not sustainable. That's probably a myth that could be busted.
Yeah,
based on planting and harvesting techniques.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Because like gravel, like you would think that's that's a totally sustainable industry, especially that's mined from stream beds, right? This river run. Right. But like, we wouldn't think that unless you knew that. Every time I find that I have like a judgment on something, it comes back around to me how I'm wrong over it. So I try not to do that.
It's good to be open-minded.
It really is good to be open-minded. And I was open-minded about peat. You know, when I mixed in the peat and saw like the benefits of using peat with the cocoa fiber, and like my buddy Fletcher, he had always been promoting it for years. Fletcher with Archive Seeds. Yeah, I mixed up some batches and I was like, yeah, man, this is the shit. And he was like, oh, you got to do it this way. And I mixed up some batches his way. And I was like, yeah, it works. That works pretty good too. Man, if you haven't tried it or if you're against it, you should try it. Whether it's my mix or somebody else's, peat-coco, perlite, man, I really do think it is the future, right? We're going to see a lot more of that. And especially these mixes like this mix without the compost or the earthworm castings or any of those other organic inputs that, you know, just have, you know, problems, man.
Yeah, they tend to attract bugs, you know.
Hands down, that's the number one problem with compost is it attracts bugs.
And at growers, we try to keep all of that off our line. We don't run any of that through our line.
Yeah, right. Completely clean line, all just peat, cocoa, perlite, all inside. We open them up, any of the raw materials that day, it gets used that day, bagged that day. We've got a great system there. That's for sure.
Yeah, we got a little bakery going. It's nice.
That's right. Everything goes in just like an easy bake oven. Do you remember that? Does your daughter have one of those easy bake oven?
No, not yet.
No, not yet. No.
She's got the real oven.
Yeah, totally. She's more of a bruiser anyway.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. I'm really not surprised, but really encouraged at all the different people that use the HP growers product, right? From beginner to professional, from indoor to outdoor to hydro to organic to, you know, special magic formula to, you know, man, it's incredible. It's all over the place, man.
Yeah. Everybody's playing with it. It's fun. And I think to start, we really captured the smaller grower. Because they're experimenting more, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The commercial guys, they've got their method, or so they think. Their best, you know, they've got the best way,
practices.
Right? So getting the commercial people to try it really, really changes it. Once you try it, I mean, there's no turning back at that point.
Well, you know, last week's episode, I talked to Jacob from Cultivate, and we talked about the metrics. Right. And how like now people can track every single thing. And so it's easy to see like when something out yields or under yields. Right. It's really easy to see it. It's been awesome. I've been wanting to do this for a minute. I'm glad we got into this. Did we miss anything on cocoa, man? I mean, I really feel like we talked a lot about it.
You know, I think for this first podcast, I think we got it, but we may have to do a follow-up.
Yeah, we were going to have some questions for sure.
Let's do a follow-up.
Because, man, I really am, like, I love straight cocoa. We should really do, like, a instructional.
Well, let's get your viewers to submit some questions, and then we can come on and answer them.
Look at this. That's what we'll do next time. All right, so if you found this podcast informative, but, you know, it left you wanting for a little bit more, why don't you submit us a nice question to the Real Dirt Podcast concerning coconut fiber and, you know, any myth you may know of the cocoa fiber, or like any question you may have about the cocoa fiber, or anything you want us to discuss over cocoa fiber, pith, core, peat. That's right. Submit them to the Real Dirt Podcast. You can get us on Messenger or Instagram or Facebook, or email us. And look at us on the on our website, therealdirt.com. Dude, Darren, thanks for coming today, man. I appreciate the time.
Chip, it has been real.
That's been great. You know, we didn't smoke any weed today. I think we're going to have to fire some up. We got so excited here. I got some Mike Larry over here I want you to try.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us once again on The Real Dirt. If you like this and other episodes, please download them on The Real Dirt Podcast or on iTunes at The Real Dirt Podcast. Oh, I think I just said that. Anyway, hey, man, I know you guys could be doing other stuff with your time, and I really appreciate you spending your time with me. So thanks again. Download and subscribe. Real Dirt.